Hello, hello, everybody. So welcome for a career and spirituality conversation. It's been a while, and I'm delighted to get back into the flow of these conversations with a very, very good friend of mine, Edel Source. Hi, Edel. How are you today?
Hi, Julie. Delighted to be here. It's been a while. It's a long time coming.
Yeah, yeah. So also to remind people, well, like for those of you who don't know me and those who have forgotten since I've been absent for a little bit. So I'm Julie Pone, I'm your host, and I support spiritual seekers having a career experience to reconcile what they do for a living with who they are as a soul. And it's going to be super exciting to have a discussion with Edel today because as far as soul exploration is concerned, I can't think of anyone who could top you in terms of intuition and reading people, etc. So I'm super excited about this. But as we always do, well, I usually start with a little grounding, but since you kindly, like accepted to do it today, like I'm gonna hand you the mic. And so far, like, and like, short, 1 minute, 2 minutes, whichever, you feel, but so we can all have an experience of you from
Hmm.
the start.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's close our eyes and become aware of the first thing that enters your head and let it be. Welcome it in. Now bring awareness to your breath. Welcome it in. Bring an awareness into your entire body, sitting on the chair or wherever you are right now. And invite that breath a little bit deeper. And with an invitation, it's about opening a door and allowing it in without force. Just a beautiful, warm welcome deep into your system. And as you exhale, bring awareness to the softening, the holding, the releasing, and any tension that's remaining. Giving full permission for you to be you, for me to be me, for all of us to be exactly as we are. Breathing that life force into your body, all the way down towards your hips, connecting to your feet, feeling your right foot, your left foot, connecting to your shoes, to the floor, connecting to Mother Earth. And connecting beyond our bodies to love, way beyond our own bodies, this chat. And let's draw the love of the universe right into our hearts, right into our space. Allowing all that wants to stay, allowing all that wants to leave, and finding contentment in this space together. let's take maybe 2 inhalations and exhalations together. And slowly then allowing your eyes to open.
Wow. Thank you, Edel.
Mm-hmm.
I nearly don't feel like talking now. I'm like so, ooh,
Yeah,
thank you,
it's
that's
lovely.
gorgeous. Oh,
I feel us now.
yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's lovely. It's like, yeah, we're here together.
Oh, thank you. Whew, so I want to say, I want to introduce you to my people, and and so to those of you who don't know Edel yet, actually Edel has been my teacher. My first teacher when I arrived in Ireland, I went to Edel for Reiki shares, and then Edel taught me massage and reflexology and so many other things, and it's been how many years? My
Oh,
God, 15 years? No, maybe more than that.
it's more.
Nearly
It's
20.
more. I think
Yeah,
it's 20.
yeah. Oh God. And we became friends, and to me, like I know when I met you first, you were teaching holistic therapies. You had your school, holistic school, and with that framework, with exams, etc. And like you've evolved so much. And now, if I could, the way I would describe you for me is, could say, intuitive healer, but so much more. I mean, reader, you're a reader. You're a reader of people. Like, I mean, like even in the car the other day, like I swear, people, like we are Edel's driving, we're chatting away, like and like we're discussing stuff, and next thing you know, I'm like, Edel is reading, like she knows like things about me that or highlight things about me and the situation I'm talking about, like pinpointing the exact right detail that need to be put to my awareness for me to understand what's going on. So that's the Edel that blows my mind every time. Every conversation there's something there. But and also the fun. I mean, we we usually have a lot of fun too, and lots of laughing. There's been lots of crying, like
Yeah.
we've witnessed each other in like many situations, but yeah. So Edel, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh,
And
so
I
good.
I know we're gonna go in like so many directions possibly, but my first question, so that I keep a semblance of of my usual format, would be, if you were to describe your relationship to spirituality, or what spirituality to you, what would it be?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I just want to use a tissue. I'm not crying.
Oh, yeah, already.
No. Yeah, so this is the question. Okay, so what does spirituality mean to me?
Yeah.
I find that a really difficult question. It's one of the most difficult questions. I honestly find it so difficult. And I never use the word spirituality. In my website, I don't use the word spirituality. And I guess there's a reason. Why am I not using it? Why am I not talking about it? And I feel it's an action. It's how I behave. It's how we behave. It's how we behave towards one another. It's how we behave when we're on our own, in our own thoughts. I don't feel it's something that we step into and step out of. I think it's an actual a way of life, as opposed to it being, like I said, it's not something that I feel I practice. So I feel it is a life. It's the lifestyle. maybe it's the mirror, or it's a highlight that I would, shine upon my life to see how I'm living it. And that's how I would describe spirituality. So do I feel good about how I behave today?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel, in my thoughts? Because it's not just, we can all go to classes and practice,
Yeah.
but it's coming outside of those classes and how you're feeling about the class, how you feel about the person you've just had a coffee with or you've just met on the street. That to me is where it comes in. And I guess spirituality, the more I'm talking, the more it's actually coming out of me, that I would really use the word awareness. I think I use the word awareness in place of spirituality. To be honest, that's coming to me now because I use that a lot and I practice that in all the time. It's like, are you aware of how you've just spoken to that person? Are you aware of how that person has spoken to you? What's going on with them if they're speaking like that? And are you aware of the energy in the room? Are you aware of the sounds? So that's the feeling. Am I aware of my environment? How am I fitting into that environment? Am I being toxic to the environment, or am I helping the environment? So I guess I always have to ask, am I actually answering the question? Because sometimes I don't know if I'm answering the question. I go off on a tangent.
It's great. No, I love it. And the more you talk about it, suddenly I got it makes a lot of sense. I'm reading right now. I just started reading The Untethered Soul.
Oh,
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. I never read it before. It's only start like on. I'm not actually reading. I'm listening to it in my car. But
Yeah.
and so when she's his name escapes me right now just here, but when the author talks about it, explains it's being aware of being the observer,
Yeah.
that's not just this voice in our head. It's not us. It's like we're the soul that has that experience. And so
Yes,
yeah. So when
exactly.
that's what you to me, like, it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. Like the way you described it.
Now you've just brought something else into that.
Okay.
Because you can do that from two places.
Okay.
So this is really important because say we talk about spirituality or and everybody and we're practicing.
Yeah.
So when we become the observer, we can become the observer from the place of the ego or from the place of the heart and soul. And there's nothing wrong with either place, but the importance is that you discover which place you are. Because oftentimes when we are the observer from the ego, it becomes righteous.
Okay.
And our observations become a right and a wrong. So we become the judge of ourselves, even though we're supposed to be the neutral observer. The observer becomes the judge and jury. So that becomes more egoic than the neutral observer. So it's even in being the neutral observer, it often can slip over into I'm the neutral observer, but I'm here from the place of my ego, from my mind. So I'm actually observing. Again, I'm not dissing one for the other. It's to realize which state you're in. And then if you're in the ego of the mind, if you're in the thought process, there's something to be learned there. But that's not that's not necessarily the place of the heart and the soul or the place of expansion, but nonetheless there's learning there. And it's knowing the difference.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, how do we know which one we're in first? And then you said we can be one or the other. Do you think like we can be at any moment, we could be either in one or the other, or else depending on our personal development journey, we are gonna be like, for a while we're gonna be in the mind one, and then with more time and more evolution we're gonna shift to the heart and soul? Or can we be, you know
Yeah, it would be lovely if we thought, wouldn't it be lovely if we could feel that, oh, we're going to be in this one and then we're going to eventually shift into the mind, the heart and soul. That would be lovely evolution. That would be lovely expansion. And let me go through all my rough, can you swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can. Yeah, like a swearing. I just welcome, and and even.
Okay, so I was, it's like so in it, it's the swimming through the shit, and it's that. But what happens is the big difference. You were asking me about the differentiation of it. So the difference is when we're in something difficult hits us, and we're in the observation. So in the observation, then as the heart, soul observer, it will always feel expansive. It will feel expansive in the body. It feels free. It feels non-judgmental. And that the mind is allowed to think, and it's not even been judged. But when we hit places in our life, when the shit hits the fan, when we hit those hard places in our own life, what happens to us is we switch. In a sentence, we can switch. In a thought, we can switch. So within an observation, you can be observing, and really in this beautiful place in the observing, that's the opportunity for growth. So the body, the mind, the soul, that pure source love that I would speak of, that is given, we have an opportunity here to learn something. So we can switch then, and it can bring up something. When something is brought up to the surface, that's something that's brought up to the surface can be so hard that we then are not able to stay in that non-judgmental place. So then we switch over into the place of judgmental because we don't want to see this. We don't want to feel this. We don't want to experience this. So we decide to analyze it. We decide to talk our way through it. We decide to go, oh, I know why that is. That is because I had a relationship with that person. That is because my mom said that to me, or my dad said that, So by doing that, now again, of course, I'm generalizing for our chat. We then can, we're shifted now. We're no longer in the observer. Now we're in the analyzer. Now we're in the judgment. And we're also trying our best to hide, to justify our behavior, or to land ourselves nicely into the victim. So when we land ourselves nicely into the victim, now we're no longer needing of taking responsibility for ourselves, because we're blaming then outwards. So that's I've just thrown out a lot there.
Yeah. So what I hear is like it can be hard. It can be difficult to sustain, and then suddenly, and then we need, we have that, maybe that urge or that habit or that addiction to going back into like mind deciphering the situation.
Okay, so it's a habit, it's a pattern, but also it's a survival technique.
True.
Because the feeling starts to arise, we don't like it. So when we don't like the feeling, the place to go is to a place of safety. The place of safety, it might not be a nice place. It's really weird because we often talk about a place of safety as being sure it's safe. I go there because it's my safe place. Safety is what became your norm as a child. It doesn't mean that it is normal, but it's your norm, and we go back to our norm. So if we were, when we are starting to expand and all this loveliness and this feeling observing, and then all of a sudden we get this, there's something coming up, and we get a trigger, a feeling of, what's happening, a memory. And in that memory, we go back into our clothes. The body then feels tension, tight, and the mind then takes over. It takes over for a reason. So then if we could only not judge it, but realize in that moment, it's taking over because I'm scared. I need now protection. I need to be safe. I need to go back to what I once knew as my norm. And that's what your body knows as safety. I mean, as children, if we grew up with being, this sounds really weird, but I always take it to the nth degree. But if you grew up as a child being maybe scolded every day, that is when you got the attention. That is what happens. So our bodies don't know. I can't tell you, you know, if you said to me, did you have a happy childhood? Was it fabulous? Was it good? You don't know genuinely, really, in the moment. We're not cognitively aware enough of the full extent as a child, whether we're happy or sad. We're just going through surviving and learning how to survive. So in that sense, you're drawn back to that type of behavior. It's not that as an adult we want to go and get scolded, but as an adult, it feels we might go for conflict. If we're in a relationship, we might go in our relationship, instead of the calm might be very uncomfortable for us. It might, because it's something we don't know. But what we do know, and how we know how to navigate, is the conflict. Now, in a child, it's the scolding. So the child gets scolded, and in that, it's that familiar. So as an adult, we go back to that familiarity, we go back to that feeling. So in relationships, when something's going really smoothly, it's often a time when you go, whoa, this is what I'm going to, why do I do this? Why do we start an argument when everything's running so smoothly? And my partner's been so nice to me, so loving, and I'm just really being mean and, you know, picking at everything. Because I'm looking for something familiar, because the nice, calm, loving is not familiar to my nervous system.
Yeah. Oh, yes, family.
Yeah. So we need to be able to catch those moments.
Is that when you say family, because I know about that sense of familiarity, you know, so how the subconscious works. So like the familiar, we go back to the survival. But it's interesting you say so, like that it's familiar to the nervous system. So it's really like we don't even have, like it's it's instant. It's like it's not something we have like
Cognition. No.
Yeah, over. So when that,
Totally.
so when that, you know, so when, let's say we were saying, okay, we're like expanded and observing, something comes up because we're in that perfect place to allow for these things to come up, and we get sucked into the, how do we, like, you know, from your experience, you know, as a
human.
Yeah, like how do we catch ourselves, and how do we get ourselves out of it, or do we even want to get out of it straight away, or is there benefits to being in it for a moment, or what do you advise?
This is where the practice comes in. So this is, if you're talking about doing a practice, if you're looking for self-development, if you're looking, you know, my whole concept is, I guess, and for me all my life, I don't know when, I want the truth. I want to know who am I really? You know, it might sound quite narcissistic. I want to know who I am, but I want to know who I am beyond who I was told to be, and beyond the programming and the conditioning. I want to know the depths of who this person really is. And in that, that's a practice. So that is a practice. And if then it's easier to talk about something like, if we're talking about, if I can use myself as the example, you know, so in that, if I'm in a practice, I go back again to saying awareness. So when we become aware of our thoughts, they are important because they can take over And our thoughts can take us, the mind is very, very powerful, yet it's limited. Because when we cross the barrier down into the heart and in the soul, or if you want to use that term, but into the consciousness, I would say the vastness, when we cross that bridge from the mind into the vastness, it's limitless. And I know that from the experience, but the mind is still very powerful. And to cross the bridge into the vastness, it's only split seconds. You know, do you ever hear people saying, and we've said it years ago, we'd say, we have this deja vu, or we have this feeling. And so they're the moments, they're split second moments when we just feel all of a sudden there's an expansiveness and we just seem to know more than we could possibly know. That is when we go across the bridge. But we go back very quickly. They can be split seconds. So you train and train. How do you train the brain? You train the brain by, this is only my concept, someone else could have a different one, but by becoming aware. To me, this was the strongest, most profound work, was the self-awareness. And I can't think of anything that was stronger. It will come into me if it is. It will come in right now as we're talking, so that I can't actually think of anything or feel anything that was stronger. That I remember talking just simply to my family, to my brothers, to my sister, to my friends, and becoming, again, it's not an individual practice. It's about practicing in your life, with everybody in your life. To me, that's where the practice is most profound than sitting on your own meditating. Yeah. Yes, it has its benefits. Don't get me wrong. Of course it is. And I do that. But I really feel the real work is when you can go out and practice that awareness with somebody else. Then you're going to know right now in this moment, that person is annoying me. They're triggering me. They're not agreeing with me. So we feel all of this coming up. If in the moment, if I can be aware of myself, in the awareness of looking at myself in my ego, looking at myself behaving from that place of being triggered, behaving from that place of feeling, how dare they say that to me? That's a lovely egoic, I'm so important. How dare they say that? When you see that happening from the observer, and the observer doesn't do a thing about it, but just is. And the just is, to me, is pure source love.
Yeah.
And doesn't scold you, doesn't berate you, doesn't bring it up when you're in your car on the way home, but it really loves you. And but you can have that discussion with yourself then afterwards and go, wow, I really caught myself there. So then you can have a, well, for me, it's like I have a chat then with that observer in a way. It's like I feel, I'm chatting with that observer, or another observer comes in and watches me having a conversation. So there is no judgment here. There is no judgment. But before the non-judgment comes the judgment. Before the non-judgment. So if I'm in my car going home after having coffee with you and I feel, how dare she say that to me? If I'm doing that, but instead of that, how dare she say that to me? I'm like, oh my God, that was so fabulous. The way I noticed how I was reacting and how I noticed my wall coming up. I'm getting excited about that instead of being found out or righteous. Yeah. So that's the work on the mind. So you're no longer being played. Does that make sense? Like you're not being played by getting me going away into the car and the mind then going, she shouldn't have said that. Does she not know? And why did you? The fight is on. The internal fight is on then. but there is no internal fight when there is no judgment.
Yeah.
And that, like, I'm saying all this, and it takes a little bit of practice. Of course it does. It takes practice.
So how do we build it up? How, like, you know, what?
How do we build up the practice?
Yeah, so like, because it sounds easy to, you know, we're talking about it, but like people don't know that I know you. So I know you've been, and like, you know, you've been a yoga teacher, you've done all of the, I mean, you've gone all around the world on your own for a year. So like that, I mean, there is loads of things that, you know, you've done in your life that kind of maybe you get a level of that, you know, so yeah, you just need to practice, but you know, for
yeah, I get that, and I feel even as I'm saying it. So even as I'm speaking to you, I'm getting that, and I'm speaking because I am an elder lemon at this stage.
An elder lemon.
So like, yeah, like I'm years doing it. So it's not fair really to think that as I'm saying all this, oh, it's just this simple. But genuinely, simple concepts don't mean they're easy.
Yes, agreed.
But it's concept that is simple. And that simple concept is bring awareness to every single thing that you do. And it goes, you can go back into the Buddhist way of being, mindfulness, where they say even when you're washing your teeth, when you're having a bath, when you're drinking your tea, to bring mindfulness into it. But that can often become, you know, a practice. Do it, but it can become that stepping in and stepping out. Okay. I would suggest, now this is a little, it's just coming to me now because I talk on, and then something will come through it. Something that I was never really good at was journaling. I was never really my thing. I feel a lot, but to write, it doesn't seem to matter. But I do know that it works for a lot of people. And sometimes an observation page before you go to sleep, an awareness page, call it what you like, and just observe or write down what you observed that day about yourself, what you were aware of. So you don't have to dive in the deep end. Try to know, try to know it all. Our bodies, our minds are vast. Everything about us is a huge adventure. But we don't need to get to the end of the adventure, but we do need to start the adventure. So sometimes we do need something tangible, and I get that. And and you know me from teaching. I have a book. We have a book, and do I start on page 1? Never. I probably start on the last page, and then I say, if you put the books away, we'll take them out a week before the exam. And everyone's panicking, and they're saying, what's she doing? But I bring everybody on a journey, but it's not linear ever.
No. I confirm.
So again, I'm going back to your question because So yes, it's awareness. I know it's simple, but oftentimes we're looking then for the A, B, C, and D of it. We're looking for the 1, 2, 3, and 4 of it. And I won't give you that, because that to me brings you back to the mind.
That makes sense.
And then it becomes too linear. And when it's too linear, it's strong doing. It's strong masculine energy. I love the masculine and the feminine energy. I work very strongly with both, weaving both in. But if you are in the doing all of the time, that's masculine. The doing. I'm going to A, I'm going to do B, I'm going to do C. I'll write my list. I'll sit in my meditation. I'm aware. It becomes doing and not being. So we want to weave the doing and the being all the time. Do. So in work, another example of observing. So there's one, I'll give you, there's the example. Write it down on your awareness list or your observation before you go to bed at night, or when you get up in the morning. whenever, I don't care. But
The
then,
journaling police is not going to check on you.
yeah.
So,
So then there's another one. It's after going, what was I going to do the other one
sorry.
with? No, you're okay. What was it? I have to think of what flows through.
Yeah. You're talking about, you're in work and something about
Yes,
put it on
yes.
the.
So another thing that I would suggest is you're in work. I'm just feeling into this. You're on a laptop. You're working for some corporate company. You've got meetings all day. Put a timer on, 3 times a day. That timer, when it goes on, it will be for 1 minute. In that 1 minute, you bring awareness into your body.
Yeah.
With the senses, become aware of your thoughts, become aware of what you smell, what you feel, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Just become aware of your senses. Close your eyes, become aware of your breath. As soon as that minute is up, stop. That's really an important tip, because what happens is, and I find for something to last, if you overdo it, it won't last.
Yeah.
If you dive into something and go, I'm doing that every single day, I am going to every single day, but I'm not doing it for 1 minute, I'm going to do it for 5.
Yeah.
And if you've never done it before, believe me, 5 minutes in the day in your working space, you're not going to keep it up, because the next few days, when the beeper goes off, after doing it for maybe a few days, you're going to feel that you haven't got the time to do 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling you this because this has come back to me so many times from my clients. They say, well, I did 5. And I said, I suggested 1. And then they get it. So I'm giving you the shortcut. If you've not done this before, some of you may be well and truly on your way to how you become aware of every thought, every emotion, and every feeling that you have, but some of you may not. So if you are not and haven't done a practice, 1 minute 3 times a day, breathe in, feel your clothes on your body, feel your breath, feel if you're hot or cold, feel into the senses, close your eyes, even if you want to go out from your desk, and just breathe for 1 minute, put the timer on, getting as much information in that minute. And then you go back to work without any analyzing. No analyzing. That's another tip. I would just say, don't analyze. Come on, have fun. Don't get it all, giving all this information to the mind, for the mind then to bring it into an egoic state. Expansion comes from practice, and the plasticity in the brain will change through that practice as well. And the body starts to feel safe as well through those practices. They're tiny, and that's how they're sustainable. Yeah. We can do them. We keep doing them.
And building up from there. Yeah, I like what you're saying. You know what? As this is more recent for me, but I realized having that these fleeting moments of I'm not my thoughts, but I'm something else, and I'm kind of have that distance, and I observing, out of better word, that experience. And the more I have those, the more intense, the more shocking, the more shocking I find the grip of the thought, of the grip of the emotion. Suddenly, it like pulls you back into the drama. And then for a while, I'm in the drama. And then I'm pull myself out of it. It's like, oh my God, I was so deep into that. But so it's like the more I'm able to get out, the more I now feel how shockingly strong the pull of them can be. And I find that interesting at that stage, at my stage that I'm in, practicing the getting more awareness, but when the awareness is gone, we're really into the movie, into the thought, the emotions. Like, this is a very efficient movie, right? Yeah.
Like, you're really caught up in the drama.
Oh my God, when everything gets, the blood gets boiling, like the emotions, it's like, oh.
Well, You know, this is really beautiful practice,
Yeah.
what I'm going to tell you now. When that happens, I would suggest,
Yeah.
try this out. Leave yourself in the drama
Okay.
and observe it.
Oh.
Observe it from the absolute awareness of neutrality. Really observe you in the drama. That's when you're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
Because in that, if you pull yourself out, I'm not saying don't do whatever you want, but
Yeah.
when we pull ourselves out of the drama, what we're doing then is we're telling ourselves we're not doing something right.
Yes.
So, but if we actually are in the drama, we feel we're in a drama, and then in that moment, get the awareness and allow the drama.
Wow. Okay.
It's
So
so
yeah.
nice, because then what you're going to discover, and this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Again, I love the curiosity of it, and you're in this drama, and it's so serious, and life, it's so, oh my God, everyone's so important in their drama, but in that moment when you observe it, it becomes like Shakespeare. It's comical.
Yeah.
It becomes really comical, and it becomes, you can endure it. You can actually really heal.
Yeah.
In that, it's so lovely. This is one of my favorite things. You then go, my God, I'm actually behaving like I'm 5, or I'm behaving like I'm 17, or I'm 4, or I'm 12, or I'm 25. But even in that, to see, look at her, like,
Yeah.
wow, she's 4. She's a feisty little 4-year-old.
Yeah.
She's really a sad, and she's a grieving 25-year-old, but without the attachment to the outcome of the drama, but the complete allowance of the drama.
Yeah.
So let me know.
Yeah, that makes sense, because like if you're like maybe I'm trying to play the like the spiritual one, that's really like, okay, I'm gonna get out of this drama, then the potential for healing is gone. So if we remove ourselves straight away from it, right? I guess.
It's so brilliant. I hope your listeners really get something from this, because this is just gold.
Yeah.
This is what we do when we feel this is the right thing to do spiritually. But in actual fact, now that's the ego disguised as spirituality.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the real, yes, because we're not happy with being in a place. We want to pull ourselves into another place that seems to be more spiritual. But in actual fact, everything is spiritual if it's given allowed.
Yeah.
The trauma is
Yeah, like it's like some like positivity, like sort of a forced positivity, like we need to be positive all the time, like it's like forcing ourselves into something. So yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, no, it makes so much sense. And I like it, here when you said describing, like stay in the drama, and then like observe. I had a mental picture.
well,
It's like, oh yeah, we just invented Netflix. Stay in the drama, and then go get yourself a bucket of popcorn and watch the drama.
but that's what it's like. You learn so much about yourself. It's amazing, and it's profound, and it's so beautiful, and it's expansive, because you're giving full permission, and there is no right and wrong. Then now we've moved out of the ego. There's no grip then. You're out of that right and wrong, and the right and wrong can be very debilitating. Yeah. We've heard it all our lives. You grew up saying that's wrong, that's right, don't do that, do this.
Yeah.
And so when we can discover that, maybe I can do everything, be everything, and allow everything.
Unconditionally, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to then pretend to be a certain way or act a certain way, because that's the bigger performance.
Yeah.
Because the whole drama of losing it or losing your shit or going wild or having a fight with somebody, just to have that fight and to feel the fire flowing through you, if you can stand back, observe, and see yourself in that, it's, well, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, it's having the full experience of being alive, right?
Yeah,
I
it's the
mean,
full
yeah.
experience.
Why would we have chosen to come here if it
Yeah.
wasn't to have that experience?
And
Yeah,
in the full experience, in the full experience, all that we were told to suppress
yeah,
has an opportunity to heal. So the true wounding has an opportunity to actually now feel safe enough to show itself.
yeah,
Whether it's big or little wounding, or it doesn't matter, it has an opportunity to come to the surface for the healing.
yeah,
It's allowed. It's anyone's allowed on this stage.
yeah. I
It,
love it. Yeah,
yeah, it's going to feel more that I'm allowed on this stage. I'm not being judged. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be suppressed or punished.
yeah,
Um, or I'm not going to be exiled back into my darkness.
yeah,
But I'm allowed to be the full, absolute spectrum of who I am. Wow.
yeah,
Isn't that, to
yeah,
me, that's just that's amazing if we allow ourselves to be the full spectrum of ourselves. Because other people, once we don't allow ourselves to be it, nobody else will, because we will continually bring that vibration into our lives. We will continually go out and meet people that are going to show us where we want to keep that suppression in.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Does that, so
yeah,
we're going to keep meeting those people, because that's what we want. That's what we're putting out to the universe. I want someone to keep showing me where I can put myself down, where I can keep the darkness in exile, where I can keep my wounds hidden, where I can. So you're never really full. You're never going to live a full life if you're only half a person, because our wounds, I think, they take up more than half.
yeah, 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 yeah. And especially, so we're talking about work. I mean, so many opportunities to have these experiences and you
Like
know,
in middle management.
yeah, yeah, like yeah, like so many people to interact with is like um people are working in big like with loads of colleagues all around. They're going to have so many opportunities to
Yeah,
to filter out and get. They're probably going to be attracted or attract the exact colleagues and team and manager that's either going to help them to suppress what they want to suppress or help
yeah,
them to show up to the world
yeah.
what they're allowing themselves to show, right?
Exactly. And that happens.
Yeah,
That happens. I mean, I have people coming to me, and that will always show itself very clearly. They'll say they're in a team, they're leading a team, or they're part of a team, and they just cannot believe that the people that are on their team, they really feel that they're pushing against them all of the time. Now, that is where there is wounding. So
yeah,
to get to that wounding, they're not allowing themselves to show that part of themselves and that vulnerability in this particular arena, which is called work. And maybe we use it as more serious. It's not, we say work as opposed to play. So in the arena of work, they won't show the vulnerability, but the wound is still there. And so you're only showing part of yourself in that work environment. And that's the environment, if you're with all of these people, for such opportunity.
yeah,
And once that's actually noticed, again through the awareness, back to that what you're attracting and the reason behind the attraction, what that's actually doing to you. Well, if it's not comfortable,
yeah,
if you don't like what's happening, it's usually there's something trying to heal and you're not being true to yourself. And and that's sad, because work is such a huge part of our lives, that if we're not happy in our work, it's so, like, I really do find that one very, very sad. I find society are okay with being unhappy in their work. A big percentage of society. There's a lot of people very happy in their work, but a lot of people then are not. Again, I'm generalizing, of course I am. I can only go people I'm meeting all the time coming for sessions with me, but that there's that unhappiness in their actual daily work but it's all about relationship. It's all because it's going to highlight the relationship that's not working for them. It's going to highlight, that's going to be highlighted at home. It's going to be highlighted in their friends. It's going to be highlighted in work. And it's always the two parts of themselves. It's always the internal conflict that it's highlighting externally. And it's, once we know that, we can actually do something about it. But it's, and as you said, having been in middle management, even having a team you might be over or being part of a team, you have so much opportunity with a few little skills, with a few little, pointers.
Because I find it's that's all the idea of bringing, you could say, bringing spirituality into it is just, it's like that bringing that awareness that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, and then maybe like work happens for you to like you said, it to heal. So it's like the ultimate, it's a career and spirituality. That's it. That's just understanding your relationship and like in a different lens, that it's not just because such and such is being an ass or like, shouldn't have been hired here or whatever. But well, there is something in me that makes it that I end up attracting this manager or like this people on my team, that are like showing me something, and we're missing out if we're not open to basically apply this spiritual idea that out of a better description.
Exactly. And it's that in those moments, if we really can become the observer, and like, you're not going to do it all the time, but it's it's those few moments a day. And then if you bring those few moments into a meeting, like even if your beeper goes off and you're going to do that 1 minute 3 times a day, and your little beeper goes off in the middle of a meeting, you can say, well, okay, I can't really do it on my own here, but let me observe how I feel in this moment. Do I feel threatened? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel open? Do I feel closed? Am I happy? Am I able to engage with this? Or am I completely on the defensive? And that's even those little questions, even to know, so that your internal self and the conflict that's going on, because it's always going to lead back to the parts of us that have been hidden, the parts of us that have been wounded, the parts of us that have been exiled. It's always, everything external to ourselves will always lead back to those parts, looking to be healed.
And great healing place. So now there is maybe hope that, let's say being stuck into like really shitty kind of work environment, and that that you're not going to be able to get out of it anytime soon for whatever reason. And so it means that maybe now bringing in these ideas that you're giving us, it means like, there can be a meaning to this shit that I'm in, that's going to serve, that is serving me beyond everything else. So now that can be even something that helps to cope while we're able to get out. This is actually
exactly. And funnily enough, the body will always seek what it needs. And what it needs, in my experience, and I know that place of being flat on the floor, the body will always seek, and that it'll bring all those people, and you may not like them, you may not like what they have to say to you, you may not like what they have to. I worked, before I was in this 1999 really, before that I was working in the catering industry, where I was in middle management, from middle management into management, and like all of that that was pure relationship, learning about relationship. But I was in the swim of it. I was in the defensiveness of it, and sometimes in the glory of it. But it was very egoic, because there was survival, and I was definitely hiding the deeper wounds of myself, because the deeper wounds of myself didn't feel safe to show themselves, but yet they will always keep pushing to be healed. That's the shadow, and we keep behaving from that place then, because the healing, that's why we're here as humans. I feel our experience is to walk through the denseness, to reach that lightness, and to the only way we can carry that light of pure consciousness is through actually dissolving the heaviness of the human experience into each other, by allowing it to actually become that we are vessels to hold the light. But if we're so thick and dense and wounded, that we become the victim, and then we're lying underneath, the vibration is very low. The frequency of that energy becomes diseased in the body. Not only do you become very low, but it starts to actually show itself physically. So we have aches, we have pains, I suffered from migraines for years. Never, ever did I think that those migraines were from anything other than my own work being done. I always felt this is work I have to do on myself.
Okay.
I never thought I need to go and get medicated for this. It felt so strong, and I had them for 16 years. But it's in that I have been studying the human body since I was 16. It's fascinated me.
Yeah.
Fascinated me. I love everything about the bone structure, to the muscles, to the nervous system. I love it all. But in that, the study of self-study, I just feel that what we're holding in this body, what we can hold, that pain, that heartache, that grief that we've never expressed, that shame as a young girl, in me being brought up in a Catholic, under the Catholic religion, there was a shame that I just own. I don't feel I took it on. I feel it was always there. And it took a lot of work for me to be able to hold that shame, to be able to hold it, heal it, because shame is the deepest wound, in my opinion. I haven't come across a deeper wound to really heal. So say, like, even shame in the body, it's held somewhere in the body. How does that affect the physical body? I don't know. Does it eventually become a tumor? Does it eventually become some sort of a debilitating disease? I don't know. But I feel strongly about that.
But yeah, I know, and I know time is flying. It's like, are you okay with time? Can we talk a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I will talk all day.
But yeah, no, I know that. Like, it's not as if we've never been doing that, talking all day, right? Except it hasn't been recorded before. That's the
I know.
difference. But so you're talking about the body, because because you said you worked in the catering industry, so I know you've gone from that to like teaching massage and all of this. So can you tell us a little bit how did you build up this experience, giving it a little bit of a background, because like I know your commitment to the body is very strong as well.
Let's climb on board the roller coaster.
Yes. Yeah.
A quick 2 minute.
Yes.
2 minute spin around.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, catering industry.
Yeah.
Before the catering industry, I was a health club instructor. And
I
that,
forgot about that. I didn't.
yeah. So I was a health club instructor. That was the first thing I did after leaving school. I went, and so all about the physical body, all about the anatomy, loved it. And then went on to the catering, where it was all the meeting of people, and I could feel the strong sense of, you know, leadership in that. I knew I had the ability for leadership. I liked the precision of getting things done and doing it in a certain way. Really, I enjoyed that until a point, and the point was kind of weird. Things happened to me, and I would describe them as being slightly weird, but as I go older, I kind of go, well, it wasn't really weird at all. It was just that I didn't see the signs for me to move on.
Okay.
So they were like a 2x4 across the head. That was kind of what, if you were talking spirituality, if you're talking about God, if you're talking about divinity, I needed sort of that sort of a 2x4 across to go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I'll leave. So I had to leave. I left the catering industry quite abruptly through one of those. It was like a bit of a shock. It was, you know, that happened to me. I was managing a place on my own, and yeah, one of the customers sort of threatened me, and that led me to kind of, I sort of thought, you know, this is wrong. It shook me really to the core of me, that I handed in my notice.
Yeah.
And when I handed in my notice, I was on this, talk about a roller coaster. I just went for it. And then from there, I decided, this happened so quickly. Before that, I was introduced to Reiki. And then I went off in to study beauty therapy, body therapy. I studied it full time for 2 years, I think. It was about 2 years, or maybe it was a year, it was full time. So I did that. And as soon as I was older than a lot of the students. And as soon as I finished that, something happened to me during that course. I would have never said I was academic. I was much more creative, much more busy in the creative senses. But when I started studying that, it was like I knew it. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like I was remembering something, and something started to really click. I literally, the college I was in, they asked me, the exams I did, I worked very hard for that year. I did a lot of exams. And that when I finished the exams, I had the opportunity to actually teach. I did an exam that gave me permission to teach, which sounds ludicrous. But during my training, because it's like, what do I know about teaching this particular subject? It sounded a bit ludicrous. But in actual fact, while I was studying it, I remember teaching in the evening time after the full day, some of the students that were going, I don't get that. What was she talking about, the anatomy? And I'm like, oh, I'll tell you, because it was like I was just remembering. So I went on to start teaching very soon after being trained up in beauty, and then and holistic therapies. And then I went on to I had a feeling of opening up my own holistic therapy school, and I did. I went on to do that, and that's then you enter.
That's when I come in, yeah.
So I went on. So I was teaching that, but there was something in the teaching of that. While I was teaching all of that, I knew there was something deeper. I always wanted to go a little bit deeper, and I was continually working on that myself, on my own development. So I'd go to lots and lots and lots of different therapies, always trying out new things. And me and you actually together, we went to lots of different things together. We had really good fun. But in that, I continued to sort of feel, you know, there's something more here. So I worked very hard through different therapies. And then I started to study acupuncture. I'm not sure of the timelines of these. Sometimes I get a bit mixed up in them, but I think that came next, after I traveled for a year.
You traveled for a year. That was so brave. I mean,
that was a huge classroom. Oh, wow. That year traveling was a huge classroom, and that was teaching me. My year traveling was teaching me for, I would easily say, nearly 10 years when I came home, you know, there was maybe not that much, but I think it continued to teach me because I kept on learning from recalling stuff from that time. It was really profound. That was a great learning. And then I studied then. There was something, I always feel a little missing. There's some little missing piece. And so I went to, in about 2018, whatever that is, 6 years ago. Yeah. Is it 18? Yeah. So it's 6 years ago. So I went to study shadow work with Robert Masters in Hawaii is where I went first. And when I went there, I know that something dropped in. He became then my mentor, my teacher for several years. And that's when the deeper work started to unfold, the really deeper work of my own self-development. It's really, I have to give huge credit to that arena in my life. And from there, I guess, I have to rewind. I also studied yoga and meditation.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I was also teaching that. I used to have the detox programs and all of that. Do you remember? But yeah, so all of that sort of, I'm trying to give you as much information about my, you know, where I came from. But yeah, when I started to study then more the psychology side of things through the Jungian psychology and the shadow work, and I got a really strong love for Gestalt therapy. And so much so, when I get a really strong feeling, this wasn't like remembering, but what happened to me then with both Jungian and with Gestalt was I would go into very deep states, which I don't know if you call them meditation or deep lucid dreaming or whatever, but those states where I would feel I would actually be in the presence of Carl Jung or in the Gestalt, Fritz Perls. I would feel I'm in their company. I would smell, like Fritz Perls used to smoke, and I would smell the smoke, and I would feel his energy. I would feel what he was feeling. With Carl Jung, when I used to really go into that feeling of the shadow work and all of the way he did the archetypical work, I love all of that. And he was leaning into the mystical. And if he was alive today, he would not be necessarily teaching the way he's teaching, or the way he thought then, of course. But that there was something happened to me around that time of that expansion, and those two energies were very, very strong. And it was from there, I think I built actually a confidence. But going back and rewinding again to Robert Masters, it was through his work on shadow work, and he was my mentor. I did an apprenticeship with him. I was there for solid for a lot of those years from 2018, and through that's when I really got into the depth of the shame. You know, so from the, you know, it is a process. It's a constant process, and then. So all of that together, put all of that together into a walk, give it a little shake out. And let's eat it. Yeah, I guess then I can only describe it as this, that I started to tap into beyond the mind. And that's when I knew the bridge was no longer just momentary, that the bridge between the mind and the heart and the soul, you know, I say if, you know, because sometimes I don't necessarily use that particular term, and sometimes people do and they don't. So, but it was like as if the bridge was formed, and it was no longer one of those aha moments or one of those split seconds. It felt more long term. It felt like, oh, this is who I am, you know. And that felt true to me. It was like, now I know my truth. And I felt then that it just was easy to be me. The vulnerability, maybe I do have something to hide. I'm kind of hesitating, but I don't feel I have anything to hide. So if I've nothing to hide, then the wounds are able to come up all the time, even in conversation, even as I'm talking to you. I'm given permission because I'm not nervous of what might come up. But as I'm talking as well, remember, I've talked a long, that was a long sort of roller coaster. Like, it has been a roller coaster. You know, and maybe I'm highlighting it as the nice part because I feel lovely right now. You know, I'm not lying on the floor. And I haven't lay on the floor for a long time, thankfully. You know, I feel that we don't have to keep crawling through the shit all the time. There is a time to connect the mind down into the unknown. And it can be scary because the unknown is unknown. For instance, I know this might sound rehearsed, but I have not rehearsed. I haven't written anything down about our conversation.
No.
You know, do you know what I mean? So in that sense, it's more like I now have permission to really just feel, speak, be, do all at the same time. So again, I often ask this: have I actually answered your question, or
I don't remember what the question was.
So I'll give you a little history about.
Yeah, you have, because I wanted people to have a sense of where you were coming from.
Okay.
Understand what you do now. You give us an overview of where you're coming from and who you are, because I find the way that you're working with people, you know, I don't understand, like, you know, the subtleties or the techniques of it. There's a lot that have been put in the work that gives you that experience. But what I know is that, you know, and I don't think that is it something that can be learned? I don't know, but the level to which you're seeing through people and understand, like, pick up on the energy. And basically it's like you actually see the invisible constantly. Like, so that's why you're able to read a situation and read a person with such clarity that can nearly be, it's like naked. Like, I mean, like, there's no point, you know, trying to bullshit Edel, like, you know, it's not gonna work.
It's really funny because,
you know, just like
this is actually really funny. I remember describing this, and I really love this description, but it's like people come to me and a lot of times they say maybe I'm stuck, I don't know what, I want something in my life. And I can read them, and I know I can read them. But what I always see, and I see energy, I do, you know, I have to come clean about that. Yes, I do see energy. But my senses are fairly heightened, you know, and I guess that's a practice too. I'm not saying that, you know, the intuition was always there. There was something always there. I would have hidden it away, and then it came out more. But I remember someone said about, how do I describe what you do? And I went, oh my God, I don't know. Just make something up. Just make something up. But what can I call you? And I went, oh, I know, I don't know. Because it's so hard to pigeonhole someone. It really, and I get that. But I definitely know I cannot be pigeonholed. So, but when a client came to me one day and they were asking me, and they said, well, what happened when you saw me the first time you saw me? A client asked me this, and I went, oh, okay. The very first time I ever met you, I opened my door because it was here that they came to me in person, and I opened my door and they were getting out of their car, and I looked at this little child running towards me. Now, it was obviously energy. It wasn't a little child. They came very closed. They came very stoic, you know, and I looked at them and I thought, oh, I'm going to get my chisel and my hammer, because we're going to have to break through a lot to get to this little child that I'm seeing. So I told her that, and she went, oh my God, you saw that part of me as I got out of my car the first day. And I said, yeah, I did, because that part of you felt safer with me than you. I don't mean then with her, but that part of her, that inner child, the wounded self, felt really safe to be here. And that's when I know I could work with her. I wasn't going to expose that to her. I wasn't going to expose the little inner child. But I knew that I could work with her because the inner child trusted me. I didn't care if she trusted me, you know. And then what happens is that she was able then to come to me, and I was able to meet her in her, all her closed offness, with all of her layers, with all of her barriers, and with all of it. And she came, you know, in her, I work, and I'm very, very powerful in my work. I'm a very important person. And I really said to her, yes, you are. And that is one of the reasons I often see very powerful people, because they have the hidden, and they don't want to let that hidden out, because their job is so important. But so that's what's so beautiful. So how do I treat people? What do I do? Yes, I see straight through them. And that can be really uncomfortable for some people. Even I was having lunch with my friend Claire today, you know, and one of the waitress came over, and I asked her for a small Americano, and I love a small coffee. I don't want a bucket of it. I don't want a big basin of it. Just small coffee. Really enjoying my coffee. So she came over, and it wasn't the small cup. So I just glanced, but that's all it takes. And in that moment, I had to pull my energy. I just had to say to her, give her space. I thought she was going to throw the coffee. You know, she became really nervous.
Yeah.
Because immediately it's so open that it can actually be intimidating. And I said it to Claire. I said, I think I've been really, I'm not meaning to be intimidating, but my energy, did you feel her feeling intimidated? And Claire said, momentarily, it was like as if she was after doing something wrong, but you
without
could
knowing it yet.
Yeah. And then, but also she could feel your softness coming in. So you have it, you know, you do it two ways. Now I was asking her what happened there. I felt that she was really intimidated, and my energy, it's out there. It's I don't always try to pull it back in, you know, but she was okay. Once she came into the energy, she was protected. She was safe. I don't mean protected as in from, but I mean, she felt safe.
Yeah.
But it was that moment before she reached it.
Yeah.
She didn't know what she was coming into. So that was sort of, that was,
because I think that's important what you're describing here, because I think because it's not something that we can see, it's like something that that's underrated and that people underestimate, is that how much we respond to the energy that's all around us and that emanates from other people.
Totally. So, I mean, that, we were even talking about that today, and I'm saying like that I know that I've apologized for this for years. I know my energy is out there. You know, when I meet people, my energy is out. I used to apologize, and that I was sort of, my energy was big. Not that I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm apologizing that my energy is big, but I was apologizing nearly for
being then.
Yeah, and trying to change to suit where I was. And in actual fact, when I realized that owning the bigness, owning the bigness of my energy. And that can be a little intimidating at time, because someone's walking into this a bigger energy. But also that if I'm trying to play with it, it becomes more intimidating.
Okay.
So if I try to play with it, if I try to actually pull that back in and not allowing myself to be my full self, now I'm going to cause conflict within me. So that conflict is going to happen. That is going to be external conflict. So what would happen? I don't know. She could have spilt the coffee over me, or she could have, I don't know, said, oh, would you prefer, oh, is everything okay? And whatever, or I could, anything could have happened, but it will surely happen. And it has happened, because we even discussed it, that when I try to change that energy to adapt to other people, well, then the reality is I'm undermining them.
Yeah. But yeah, because like who are you to assume that they can handle
Exactly.
as well? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm undermining them, and I'm, that's an awful feeling. And then there's conflict.
Because that's the degree to which as well, you perceive your perceptive of energy. It's like, not only are you aware of your own, you're aware that you actually can at will sort of kind of adapt it, but you're also perceptive of other people's energy responding to yours. I mean, like, that's a lot to be aware of all the time, right?
Yes, exactly. And aware that that girl, I could feel what was happening with her, and to allow it.
Yeah.
So it's when I really allow it, she was okay. If I didn't allow it, if I felt that I was that I was intimidating, then that's egoic. That's me becoming better than her, that I'm bigger than her. But allow me to be me, and then allow her to be her. And when she was her, without me interfering, it all calmed. It all settled. I got my coffee. I was grateful. I said thank you to her, and she just said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Absolutely." And everything was okay. If it wasn't, I would have also said it, But it was lovely. But you could feel the change in the energy, because
and that's not, and that was just about coffee. People imagine when it's about something like, yeah, because that's what happens behind. I mean, it sounds like, oh, what's she going on about coffee? But that's what happened, like, to all of us every day about everything, except we're just not, you're giving us an insight as to what happens because you're aware of it and you can somewhat control it, or you have choice over it. But most of us are unaware of it, probably like, sort of reacting and changing our energies without realizing we're doing it. And and creating all of these chain reactions, with with people. So
yeah,
so like,
completely.
this is something very real. It's not just because we can see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Very real. If we're not allowing someone to be themselves, if we're not allowing them to be them, then we cannot be allowing ourselves to be ourselves. So there's the conflict immediately. Once we're in conflict, the body will start to show itself in conflict. It will do something. The body will literally show you immediately, oh, we're in conflict. It will tighten, the throat will tighten, whatever will tighten. You could sneeze or cough, or sometimes that happens. Someone starts to cough and they're going, I don't know, I don't have a cough. But the body is feeling, oh, we're in conflict. So yeah, it's important it's staying in your own lane, but knowing your own lane, knowing your own energy. And if your energy is, we can move our energy in and out. Oh, that's all well and good. But sometimes it's like, if you can allow yourself to be yourself, and your energy is big some days, and your energy is broad, and to allow it to stay there without feeling, I better pull my energy in, or is it okay to leave my energy out? Then you're not being true to yourself. But allowing it to be, if the energy is in on a day, to know, I'm feeling more inward today. I'm feeling more, I don't feel that expansive today. And not, instead of questioning it, thinking, wow, let's see what happens with this today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Julie, I don't know where we've gone.
I know, like, yeah, well, you know, we sort of knew it could go anywhere, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. But look,
It's like, Edel, what do you do? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, yeah. Just make something up. Yeah. But so, because like, okay, we're gonna, you know, close it somehow. Otherwise, you know, like we'll be talking in another 2 hours down the line. We'll still be talking.
We can come
Uh,
again. We can come on again.
Yes, exactly. But so I just want to make sure that, you know, people know where to find you, because I will, as usual, I will put your information, and you have a website, and people who would want to work maybe face to face with you, they would need to travel to Kildare, right?
Yes, but I work, that's in person, but I
You
do a
work
lot of,
online.
I do
Yeah.
Zoom all the time, like for my clients in the States or wherever they are.
Okay.
Yeah, and the one thing on the website that isn't on the website is the reading.
Yeah. And like now we're talking reading that in a more formal, like a real reading session where, you know, you get like a,
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while, and I really find that it really helps clients. And it's not on the website. I might put it on the website, but it's been a very word of mouth type of thing. So I'm reading, like as I do. That's the nature of what I'm doing. I'm reading you, but it helps each individual get a better understanding of themselves from that place of the non-judgmental, pure love aspect that I am looking at them from and reading them from. So intuitively reading them, looking at their inner child and seeing all the different children that they have been, that maybe they're holding wounds in different parts of their bodies, and then to other conflicts, but also about themselves. Those readings that I do are about you as an individual, and about you as, you know, an earthy person, or more of a water element person, or more of a fire, so I do bring the elements in a lot. And I also, for reference of the intuition, for reference, I would have, no, I'm not an astrologer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love the playing with it, but not, that's all I do. But I would ask, the reason I'm saying that is because I'd often ask a person what their date of birth is, their time of birth, and their place of birth. It just gives me sort of a reference point for what's going on. It's a deeper read. And those reads can really help moving forward. They can give you an understanding, but they're fun. It's like I go backstage.
yeah.
So you're center stage, and I'm going, okay, let's go backstage to the dressing room and see all the different outfits that you're going to wear.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's where the wounding is. And it's just to hold a space for that. Now, the readings, of course, are like that. They're not like a treatment session. The readings are very, very informative, and they're what you would go away with and really, really go away with and digest, because the digestion of those readings can take some time.
So it's like a diagnostics, also a diagnostic, and then once you
Yes.
have that, you can start, you know, whoever you want to work with.
But it gives you, the digestion of the read alone will take the time for you then to decide, well, what do I want to do about this now? And there's also a healing in it, but it gives you the strength then to decide where you want to go, rather than feeling bad for not doing something. It's actually the other way around. It sort of flips it all, and it gives you so much permission to be yourself.
Yeah. I like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
So I was gonna joke that it gives you the map of like, oh, which messed up part of me am I gonna start healing first?
Yeah, but it's like a map. It is a map, but it's like a map, and it is. We find the messed up parts, and imagine finding like you have a beautiful garden on this map, and we all go to the beautiful garden where the sun is shining, and then we're going. But there's a swamp over here, and there's a whole lot of rotten trees, and it's all rubble, and it's all nobody wants to go over there. But this is the map that shows you. But that is where that is. Let's see what's. That's why this is in your life, and like there is no way you would be disgusted by it, but instead to discover it and go, wow, there's where that's been. That's why I've got a pain in my left hip or
Yes.
whatever, you know. But yeah, so that's, I hope we have given
Yeah. Because
food.
like, like yeah, because on top of it, you're able not only able to read that, but you also can relate because of all your experience, you can relate that with the physical body, and you also have the means to heal the physical body. I just want to throw that out there, not forgetting, with your acupuncture and loads of other stuff. I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So Edel, before I release you, is there anything that you haven't said that you want to say, or that you haven't, like, to leave our people with, like, as a closing
Um, what,
statement?
what have I not said? I think I've talked enough for
For
forever. But it's been so lovely. This is so lovely. I really enjoy this. This chatting conversation. It's been really, really lovely. And of course, we've been friends for years. And while I started off as your teacher, I think we've swapped roles several times. And
Yeah.
really the beauty, because we do intertwine and we're well able to do that. And that's, I feel, maturity, that where I can become the student, which I love it. You're the teacher, I become the teacher, you become the student, and we do a beautiful weaving. And I think that's why our friendship has lasted so long. So I really want to say thank you so much for having me on. And I love it. And I hope your viewers or listeners enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy
I'm
the
sure they
piece of
will.
tree at Edel.
Yeah. And look at it, we didn't know, and we even had the color code. That
Well, I
wasn't planned.
know.
Yes. I always
Yeah.
love when that happens. Yeah. But thank you so much, Edel. So the website will be, sent. It will even be at the bottom of the video as it plays for people watching it. And let's do this again. That was really fun.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. I loved it. I loved it so much. Um, talk to you soon, I guess.
Bye, Edel,
Bye,
and
bye,
bye,
bye, bye.
everyone. Yes, and see you soon enough for another career and spirituality conversation. Love you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.